Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm really excited to be part of Cut to Use second year in business celebration YouTube hop that's going on all the month of July. And this is the cut file that I've chosen to work with from the Cut to Use store. It's called Leaf Edge, and I've actually flipped it upside down. And I've already got an idea brewing in my mind. And I'm going to start by painting all of these little inside pieces of all of those leaves. So I'm going to peel all of those off my mat, coat all of them with some clear gesso, and then paint them with some beautiful shimmer sprays, and then go from there and see what strikes me next. But cut to you, I wanted to thank Gwen for inviting me to be part of her celebration. She's been in business 2 years now. Cut to You is an online digital cut file store, and if you can't cut these at home, if you don't have a digital cut file machine, you can actually order these and Gwen will cut them for you and ship them to you. That's awesome. So yeah, everybody can use cut files whether you have the ability to cut them or not. And she ships worldwide, so that makes it even better. For the entire month of July, you can get anything in her store for 20% off. And I have a code if you're interested in shopping. It's Celebrate Missy. And I'm going to link all of this info down below. I'll link the cut files, her blog, her store, the codes, all of that good stuff. So you can take advantage of that all month long. So what I'm going to do is let that gesso dry. That preps all of the paper for all of the liquid that I'm about to add to it. And I went through all of my shimmers and I picked out some of my favorite greens and blues. And I'm going to use my little water brush over there to paint these leaves and then see what other ideas I may come up with. I'm not sure yet. I just knew that this was the first thing that I wanted to do. And I want these to look as realistic as I can, so I'm going to use mostly greens with a little bit of blue mixed in. And I also like to get lights and darks when I'm doing something like this, like a leaf or a flower, because I do want it to look, you know, as real as I can. And the water brush helps with that a lot because I can dab the tip of it into the color and then touch the leaf and then instantly squeeze the bottle and add some water, and it's going to help dilute it. And so then the further I can smudge it with my finger down the shape of the leaf, the lighter it's going to get. And I can make it darker kind of on the top part, or the part where it's actually coming out of the stem. And I know that's way too much thinking for a scrapbook page, right? But this is the kind of thing that I'm thinking of when I'm painting leaves. I'm thinking, does this look real or does this look fake? And it doesn't even really matter, I know, but that's what my brain is going through as I'm making these. And I think in the end, you know, when you see the final result of a mixed media layout like this, you're thinking, gosh, that looks so hard. I could never do that. But in reality, it's not a hard thing to do. It just takes the right products and patience, if anything, because, you know, mixed media definitely takes time. Okay, so here's what I've got so far. I'm really liking all the different shades of greens. I like that there's some that have a blue tint to them. I like the lights and darks. And overall, I want these leaves to be on the light side. I don't want them to be a dark, dark green, and I don't want them to look all one color. And that's why I kind of want some soft ends on some of them. So when I put them all back into the cut file, it'll look like a real vine, as close as I can get it. And I know that I'm going to be adding flowers on top of these, and that means a lot more bright colors. So I want to get all the green down in the leaves, and then I'll save all the other colors that are coming for the flowers. Okay, so everything's pretty much dry, and I love how they look, but I thought I would just take it a step further and continue to add different shades. And so I pulled out some blue and green gelatos. And if you've never used gelatos, you need to get on that because they are awesome. They are basically like little tubes of chapstick, and they draw on or smudge on or color on, however you want to do it. A little bit of color, you smudge it on, you use your finger or a brush to spread the color around. They activate with water really, really well. My preferred way to use gelatos is to smudge them with my fingers, because I think that, I would rather use my finger than a brush. And I think they just smudge really well that way. And I like to just dab my finger into a little bit of water, and it helps it to blend and smudge. And these work great with sprays or watercolors. I like to layer them on top of watercolor, kind of like what I'm doing here. You can use them by themselves. I do say that they smudge and smear a lot better when you use gesso first. I think anything works better when you do use gesso, but you could certainly use these without it. Okay, so I'm gonna see where I'm at this point. I'm gonna replace all of the leaf shapes back into the cut file and see how they look in their correct spots, because they look totally different on this messy paper towel. And I've been staring at them for a long time coloring them, and they just look like little random shapes. And so they're going to completely have new meaning right now when I put them back. And I am loving how this is looking. They just make sense now that they're back in their spot. So pretty. I love that. The collection that I'm going to use with this cut file is the Coco Vanilla Studio Bohemian Dream Collection. Do you guys remember this one? It was from 2017. And it's so gorgeous. Clearly, I've hoarded it over the years because of these flowers and colors. And I've just kind of realized when I opened my stash from my shelves that I had stuck all the die cuts and the flowers together. So everything's in a big messy pile there. But I'm sorting through everything. And at first I thought that I was going to use some of those vellum flowers on top of the cut file. And that's the idea that I started with. I wanted to create the leaves and get the cut file done and then add flowers on top of it. But I'm not so sure I'm going to use the vellum ones because you can see through them. And you know how that goes. When you see through vellum, it changes the colors of things. And I didn't want to change the colors of the flowers. So I put that aside and I'm going to get to work on my background. So my background is thick, smooth, white cardstock. This is the marshmallow cardstock from Basil, and this is clear gesso again. I'm just covering the whole thing because I'm not quite sure how much mixed media I'm going to add to the back, so I want to make sure that everything's covered. So okay, let's see how this is going to start. I'm going to work with some really dark, bold colors here, and the first thing that I thought of was, whoa, that's really dark. I'm using a color called Ahoy Matey from Shimmers. It's a navy blue, and I'm mixing it with some purple. And once I start to add this purple in, I think it makes all the difference. This is Plum Pudding, I think is what it's called. And the reason I'm starting dark is because I was inspired by some of the colors in that Bohemian Dream collection. If you recall, if you've seen it, there are a lot of dark navy blue elements in the mix with all of those gorgeous bright flowers. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to use all the green on the cut file and then all the pinks and oranges and turquoise or light blue and yellow in the flowers, then I want a background that's going to contrast that. And there's also lots of purple in this collection too. So I thought that I would kind of do a mix of blue and purple. And so at first I was thinking, this looks like a hot mess. It's too dark, it's too splotchy, this is going to look terrible underneath those leaves. So I grabbed my brush and start to work on some of the edges because I just applied this with the plastic packaging. I think we've all done that. If you've ever done mixed media, then chances are you've tried this technique where you spray it onto some plastic and then you smush the plastic down. I love that technique. I really do. It's one of my favorite all-time background techniques. And I love how this looks. I was just worried that it was too dark. So I just thought, no, let's make it work. Let's make it work. So I start to add in some pinks. And it actually turns out really nice, I think. Just give it a chance. This is going to be one of those layouts. It seems like lately every layout that I make, I get a comment from someone saying, oh, I wasn't too sure about this at first, but in the end, I really liked it. So I think this is going to be another one of those layouts where the background is kind of scary at first, but in the end, I think it works out. So that's part of the process, I think. I don't really like it at this point, but I'm going to keep working at it. And that is another point where I want to hit home about the gesso, is I can continue to add more sprays and more water and keep working on it, and the paper is going to be able to withstand that because it's protected. So what am I going to do? Instead of chunking this in the trash and starting over, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to pull in more purples and more pinks and just kind of make the area behind the cut file a little bit bigger. And this is all going to look different once the leaves are on top of it, the flowers are on top of it, and my picture is on top of it, I think. Yeah, everything always changes once you add all of your main elements back over this hot mess of a background. So I'm just going to keep working on it. I'm going to keep spreading it around a little bit, bring the cut file back, see how it looks so far, and then just keep going with it and see how it's going to go. Okay. See, it looks different. It looks totally different when you add things back on top of it. I actually love how that looks. It's crazy how that happens. It is really crazy how that happens. So now I can see if I need to add more, and if so, where. So I thought that over to the left side I needed a tad more pink. So I'm going to just kind of work around the cut file, try not to add too much because I don't want to have the white edge of the cut file soak up any of this color. So I'm trying to be really careful here and just do a little bit. I feel like I've got enough of the navy blue color in the middle, and in the end there's just going to be a little bit of that visible, but it's enough to make an impact. And I'm going to add some embellishments that are going to echo that dark blue color, so it's all going to come together full circle, I think. And like I said, I was inspired by this collection. I don't have all of the collection in front here on the screen, but there are lots of papers and embellishments that have a navy blue-ish color on them, and it just looks so pretty. So I was going between two pictures. I've had this picture printed for a long time, tried to use it on a lot of layouts, and it just has never worked. But I think it's cute because it's got the right colors. I tried this one of me and my husband, but I don't know. I think a vertical photo is going to work better for this, so I'm going to wind up using the vertical one. But I like that one because both of my girls are in it, and it's rare that they're both in the same picture and actually smiling. So I thought that was cute, especially my older daughter is making the funny face. Usually it's my younger daughter making the funny face. So I'm going to pop up all of the leaves. So that's what I'm going to do here, is go through with some adhesive foam and cut little skinny strips and add this to the back of all of the leaf shapes. And so they're going to be raised up off the page. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to glue all of that down, because I know that the location of this cut file is not going to change. It's pretty big and it takes up the most area on the page. And so I'm going to make sure that stays put. And something that I say this a lot too, but something I love about using a big cut file like this is that it does take up most of the space on your layout, and therefore you've only got so much space left for your photo and your embellishments. Now, if you were going to use a lot of photos, you might want to make this cut file a little bit smaller. You know, it's all relative to the size of your photos, how many you're going to use. Sometimes like this, I just started with the cut file first, and then I chose a photo later. I know that sounds backwards, but sometimes I start with a photo. In this case, I started with the cut file. I got it all glued down. You can see the dimension there, and that's pretty much where my photo is going to go. You can kind of see that since I flipped this cut file upside down, it leaves this little area that I can tuck a photo in, kind of in the middle. And, you know, the good thing about this cut file is you could turn it to the side. You can turn it to where the flat part is on the bottom of your layout and the leaves are growing up. I just like to do things different sometimes, and I thought this would look cool coming down, like a cascade of leaves. So yeah, but what my point is if you make a cut file this large, it kind of helps you put the rest of your page together, because it gives me a place to put my picture, and then I have limited places to embellish. Now these flowers I wanted to put on top of the cut file to look like it's a floral vine. So that's all I'm going to do here is go through all of these Bohemian Dream florals and use some pinks, some oranges, and I believe I'm going to fussy cut some yellow ones out as well. But I love how this is starting to look. And now you can see, remember that big navy blue splotch that I had in the very beginning? Now it's just kind of peeking through all of those leaves, and you just get the hint of that color, which is what I was going for. But it's hard to see that when you're making the background, because that's all you see right in front of you is this big splotchy mess of color. And it scares people off sometimes, and I feel like that's why a lot of people don't want to do mixed media backgrounds, because they get scared and they see this big old splotchy mess. But go with it. Put all your stuff back on top of it, and now you can see the difference. I mean, it's just peeking through everything, and it looks totally different. So here's what I was talking about earlier. I'm going to bring in some navy blue elements, and they look black here, but they're not. They're blue, and they're vellum, so you can kind of see through them. I love that effect. So I'm not going to use any vellum flowers, but I am going to use some vellum leaves. Look at this paper. Just look at it. Yeah, I never use this paper for obvious reasons. It's one that I hoarded because it's too pretty to cut. So look what I'm doing. I'm cutting it. I'm cutting it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It hurt, but I just decided to cut into it. Luckily, I have another sheet of it that probably will never get touched, which is ridiculous, right? Because where has it been all these years? In my on my cabinet, in my shelves, hiding. At least now I'm using it, even though I'm cutting into it. But look how pretty it is. The colors are stunning. And you can see that there's that navy blue color in that paper that looks really pretty up against all these bright colors. So what I thought I would do is cut out some of the yellow ones and then some of the light blue ones and scatter those around. I thought yellow would be a pretty addition. So this is what I've got so far. I haven't glued any of these flowers down, but I think it looks pretty. I'm really liking how this is turning out. So I wanted to add in a little bit more of a touch of that navy blue color, and I'm going to do that with some thread. I'm going to add that over to the left, and that's just going to give me a little pop of that color, a little bit of texture against the light blue in the picture, the yellow flower that I'm going to layer on top of the picture. Perfect, I think. I love how that little section turned out. I'm going to go with the orangey color thread over here on the right, behind this big pink flower and yellow flower. And I had to work with it a little bit. It was sticking to my finger, so I had to play with it. But again, pop of color, texture. And then I'm going to start to glue things down very carefully. I've got a couple pieces of floral chipboard there on both sides of the picture. And then I felt like some of the some of the flowers that I was using needed leaves, because in this collection, some of the flower die cuts have leaves and some of them don't. So I wound up using some that did and some that didn't. So I wanted to make sure they all did. So I cut some leaves off of other ones and just kind of mixing and matching here. And yeah, I'm just going to sort through all of the other millions of die cuts and stickers and just see if there's anything else that I want to add in. I wound up using some of these black and white phrase stickers in a couple spots, but I didn't want to use it long-wise, so I'm just going to cut and create a little cascade of words here. I think that says live out loud. That's what it says. And so instead of the words being horizontal, they're now vertical. And I think that looks okay because it's a white sticker on a white background. The one up top there that says these moments, I think it says these moments. I'm just going to stick that on top of the line of the cut file. And I am adding glue behind these stickers because I used gesso, and the clear gesso is kind of gritty and nothing ever wants to stick to it. And so I make sure that I glue everything down that touches gesso. I'm going to add one more sticker over to the left that says my world, and do the same thing here. Add some glue and just tuck it in kind of where that blue thread is. And then I love that section right under the photo. I love how the watercolor came together. So I didn't want to add a big title because, I mean, look at this design. Where would a big title go that didn't cover up something. So I'm going to go small, and I'm going to use these alphas that I've had for forever from Bella Boulevard. They're white, obviously. You can't even really see them. But I combined those with a chipboard piece from this collection. And I'm just going to go with Silly Beautiful Girls because they are beautiful girls and they were being silly. And yeah, I like the fact that it's a small title and that you can still see that pretty pink and purple watercolor around it and underneath it. I didn't want something so big that covered that area up. And what am I doing here? I'm continuing to work on the background. I thought I needed a little bit more over here on the other side of this flower cluster, I guess. So that's what I'm doing there. Very carefully because, like I said, I've already glued stuff down and I'm not going to peel it up. But yeah, I like how that looks. I'm happy. I think it all kind of works together now and is cohesive. And I'm almost done. We're going to add in the journaling. I thought at first I might use my silver metallic pen because I didn't want to go super dark. But once I started writing on top of that blue color, you couldn't even see it. It blended in with the blue too much. So I just decided to go with the black marker, or the black, not marker, fine tip Sharpie. And I'm going blind, so I had to get really close to see what I was writing. Good grief. I fussy cut a couple more tiny flowers from that same paper in the 6x6 size, and then I'm going to glue those down here to create a little bit of color down in the bottom section. And then I added the date. But anyway, that's the final layout. I really, really love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this process. Remember to check down below. I'm going to have all the links to Cut to Use store, to this particular cut file. I have the code that you can use to get your 20% off all the month of July. Definitely check out her cut files. They're really, really pretty. There's something for everybody in her store. And like I said before, if you can't cut these at home, you can still get them cut and sent to you, which is awesome. 20% off. That's a great deal. Here are all of the close-ups. Look at those pretty flowers. I love how the leaves turned out. Yeah, I'm really excited that this turned out kind of like I had in my head, you know? That's always a plus. But let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in my next video. I hope you have a great week, and thank you for watching.